Welcome back, y'all, to part 3 of my testimony. Today, we are going to talk about how I have kept a significant amount of clean time, my tools in my tool belt, like my habits, and the people and things that have kept me grounded. So let's go. All right, so if you're new here, my name is Olivia. I am on social media to share my recovery journey and to simply know Christ and to make him known. I'm sharing everything that I'm learning along the way with y'all. All right, so that being said, I'm going to start off with a little story from my first time ever in a 30-day program. We all sat around in a circle on my very first day, and this was very intimidating, I must say, because the guy that was in charge at the time was in the military, and he was high-ranking Marine, right? So he was pretty intimidating, and if you guys know Julio, you know Julio. He is awesome. So he gets a chair, and he puts it in the center of our group of chairs that we're all sitting in, and he puts an empty chair in the center, and then he goes around and he asks all the new people. He's like, do you like roller coasters? Do you like roller coasters? And each person just says yes or no. And then he's like, okay, well, if you like roller coasters, great, because this is going to be the best roller coaster of your life. There's going to be super high highs and super low lows and twists and turns all along the way. So hold on for the ride. And if you don't, well, you got to toughen up. You got to dig deep because you got to stay here. Like, there's the door if you want to leave, because the chair that's in the middle is representing the person that didn't get to make it in here, that didn't get this chance at this 30-day program. So if you don't think you're strong enough for this roller coaster, think twice, like dig deep, because you might not make it in here again. So that was like the first moment in a 30-day program for me. And I was like, all right, let's do this. So that story leads me into a lot of people say, you learn a lot of tools to add to your tool belt. Well, the perspective that he gave us, which matched up so well with my personality, because I was married to a Marine and I had just left my husband. So like, the whole military analogies really stuck and hit home for me. But instead of him, using the tools in your tool belt analogy, he said, look at this as your training camp, as your boot camp. You are learning how to prepare yourself for a battle, how to prepare yourself for a war. Because when you go out into the real world, after this program's over, when you step outside of those doors, you're on a battlefield. You are fighting for your life. There are going to be things and people and different situations that come your way that you are going to have to fight through. At some times, you're going to have to trudge through the battleground. You might have to get real low at some points, but it's how you rise. It's how you overcome it. It's what you defeat. It's those battles that you win, the small defeats that lead to great victory. And it's like those programs, that's really the seeds that were planted for me, right? If you've never been to a program, give it a thought, at least. Share your thoughts with God and see, the path that he wants to take for you. It's not for everybody, but I am glad that my family had like a mini intervention for me and convinced me to go. So a huge thing that helped me prepare for battle, right, was knowledge. Knowledge was key for me. And it took me a long time to really have this knowledge sink in and have it be heard over and over again in the rooms, to really start applying it in my life and to understand. It's like a light bulb went off at different parts of my recovery where I'm like, oh, now I understand why they said that. Oh, now I understand what move a muscle, change a thought means. Like different things at different times. I'm like, okay, so let me talk about books really quick, because I am the queen of all books. I brought out just a few. I mean, I have so many recovery books. It's insane. So a few. The Life Recovery Bible is really, really, really good. This will break down the Bible, but it will also break down recovery with the Bible. And then in the beginning, it's got the 12 steps of life recovery. So that's based around God. And then right below it, you have the 12 steps of AA. So then you can mirror it with the normal AA program. So that's really awesome. And then another book that if you go into the programs, they usually read out of a lot that you will see and hear of. It's called the Blue Book. So the Blue Book can look two different ways. I'm out of breath. Okay, so the Blue Book can look two different ways. This is one version of it, and then this is what you see like a lot of the OGs using, the actual Blue Book, but they literally are the same thing. And I want to read something out of this at the end that is really good to read, especially in early recovery, all the way to now. It's just really good to read. Okay, on top of that, another thing that really helps is to have journals. I have a journal where I can draw and write in, so it's like that blank paper. And then I have, just normal lined paper. That way I'm like building a healthy hobby. So instead of just using my phone camera all the time in recovery, you don't have a phone. If you bring a journal with blank pages, you can actually, learn how to draw, learn how to write differently, stuff like that. Like you can get really artistic with blank paper. So yeah, two different kind of journals. And then another really fun thing that you can ask for from people, because a lot of people say, what do you need? Well, what do you need when you're in recovery? Ask for a journal. And then what you can ask them to do is write you a little letter in the very front of that journal and to date it, the date that they gave it to you, and write you a little message from them to you. That way, whenever you finish one journal, you can open up the next one and you read that message from them at that new time in your life. And it is so special. My niece and my mom are the two that really started that for me. And it really was very special at different moments in my life. Okay, another fun thing is getting yourself adult coloring books. Now, I know that sounds really nerdy, but they have really cool different ones. They have all kinds. This is a Disney one where they literally show you real Thomas Kincaid pictures on one side and then the drawings on the other. Like, come on. So this was something that took up a lot of time and brought a lot of us together in the rooms. We just sat there and talked and talked. And I think, okay, yeah, so my mom is so sweet. Okay, it says, to my darling daughter, Olivia, you are my sunshine. You are Hunter's sunshine. You are Tanner's sunshine. You are Sawyer's sunshine. We all love you to the moon and back a million times around. XOXOXO 9/5/20. So this was 5 years ago at the beginning of my sobriety. Super, super cute. Okay, so another book that you will hear a lot in the rooms is Drop the Rock. This is based on steps 6 and 7, but it's still really, really good. Okay, so at the beginning of this one, it says, Olivia, keep your eyes on the prize. Recovery comes first. Love, Miss Yolanda, 2/29/20. So this is from one of the workers that were in one of the programs. She knew I wanted this book. So this is a really good book too. Okay, then another book. This one has been beat to death, but this is Daily Reflections. They will read this usually before AA meetings or NA meetings. And sometimes they will use these as like a basis for what they're going to talk about during that time. Okay, so another one that you'll hear a lot about is 12 Steps and 12 Traditions. This is another really great book. It says a co-founder of Alcoholics Anonymous tells how members of recovery and how the society functions. So I read this one a few times and you get a lot of really good insider stuff on this one. Okay, and then I really like Melody Beatty. She does a lot of good codependency books. And of course, Joyce Meyer. I have almost all of her books. So this is actually one that I bought my mom because she bought it for me and then I bought it for her back. It says, Mother, I love you so much. Let's heal together. Love, Oli, 4/22/22. And obviously, I think I took this back from her recently, but sorry, Mom, I'll give this back to you. So like I said, a huge one for me was knowledge. Knowledge was power, not only with the books, but applying what I was learning into my life, learning about boundaries, journaling about my life every single day to where I could reflect on it, learning about gratitude and how to be thankful, learning about, my sickness, what ADHD and addiction have in common. That way I could see the warning signs and know what to avoid and look for, right? So all of these things built together, I was building my tools in my tool belt, as some call it, or I was building up my skills for war, right? I was building up my armor for battle. And I think for me, the biggest thing was having a spiritual connection with a higher power, which for me, that is God, Jesus and God. That is what really propelled this new version of me that you're seeing right now, that has the confidence, the joy, that isn't always depressed all the time and sad, that can bounce back from a hard time a lot quicker, that just is just joyful and just happy and thankful to be alive. I really have to give all the credit to God and his Holy Spirit just surrounding my life and myself for just entering in his presence daily and surrounding myself with him and his word and wanting him more than I want anything else. I want to be closer to God more than anything else. And once I truly was all in and stopped saying I was all in, but started putting the work and the effort behind it, that's when real growth started to shift for me. So all glory to God. All right, so some healthy habits that I had to learn was positive self-talk. Even if I didn't believe it, looking at myself in the mirror and saying 3 positive things was so difficult at first. I'm not even joking you. Like, it sounds so simple, but when I had absolutely zero confidence from everything that was going on in my life. Even looking at myself in the mirror was hard. I could barely even do that. So the positive self-talk is really important. And then simply being grateful, finding things to be grateful for, looking for the positive while you're out in your day instead of always dwelling on the negative, right? And then another really fun activity is you can write out what your average perfect day would look like in detail, and then start checking off some of those things on the list every day that you can. The list might start with a hot cup of coffee every morning with my Bible in my hand before any of the kids are awake. Okay, well, what steps can you start doing tomorrow to make that happen? Do you have to set your alarm clock 30 minutes earlier? Do you have to go to bed an hour earlier? What steps can you make to start making your average perfect day happen? That way you start being more positive and notice those little things happening in your life that you are making happen. So all of these things really did help me, especially in the beginning of recovery. And I have to give a quick example. I can clearly and vividly remember the first time that I was able to take a bath after I had been living on the streets and using, and where I was safe and I could just be in the bath, no drugs, no nothing, just me in a clean area, and I was safe. It took me over an hour and a half to even like my brain to function and be like, okay, hand, turn on the water. Okay, water is running. Okay, temperature is warm. Like that's how slow my brain was functioning at first. But as everything was happening, like as I could slowly start feeling the water getting warmer, I could also start feeling my tears that were warmer than the water that was hitting me. Like my tears felt hotter and they were pouring faster than the water that was hitting me. Ugh, because I was so thankful. Like I just felt like I was being baptized, like I was being cleansed and renewed in that moment, and that I finally had made it out. And it was just like a breath of fresh air. So, yeah, being thankful for the little things, being able to do my laundry, being able to have clean clothes, being able to wash a dish in the sink, all those little things I was so thankful for. And the longer you're in recovery, sometimes you get bored, sometimes you get complacent, sometimes you forget, but just having that humility sometimes and that reminder just to be thankful for the little things really does help open up your eyes a little bit. All right, so now on to people and things that have kept me grounded. Priscilla Schreier is such a good motivational spiritual speaker. If you look her up on YouTube, she is somebody that I just devoured all of her sermons, and I still refer to her notes to this day. She's awesome. And then, of course, Joyce Meyer. I don't know why. Her messages just hit home for me. I just think she's so funny. She just reminds me of Judge Judy in a way with her attitude and her personality. So yeah, those two ladies are awesome. And then my mother, of course. My mother has always given me great sound advice, even from when I was a little kid, that has stuck in my mind that I am now teaching my kids. So, and my dad as well, and my family, they have really kept me grounded, sane, and sober. And then another thing that they teach you is stick with the old timers, the people that have a lot of time in recovery. Usually you'll get a lot out of. Yes, it's okay to be around people with, smaller amounts of recovery time, but who you really want to be learning from and looking up to in recovery are those people with like 10, 15, 20, 25 years. They know what they're doing. They've been around the block, especially if you see them have a good spiritual fit, that they're out there doing things right now, that they're active in their recovery. Those are the ones you want to keep your eye on, and you will learn some things from them. All right, so a practical tip that really helps is the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 method. And this is like a mindfulness grounding exercise. And simply it's you counting down 5 things you can see, 4 things you can feel, 3 things you can hear, 2 things you can smell, and 1 thing you can taste. Even if you have to keep a mint in your pocket, they say mint will like awaken your senses. So a mint or something spicy, keep it on you in your purse, in your pocket. That way, if you're feeling really anxious or overwhelmed, you can start doing that. Okay, what's 5 things I can see? And instantly you're distracting your brain, right? So you're instantly interrupting those signals and you're lessening that stress, you're lessening that tension, and it's all psychological, and it really did help me. All right, so it's getting dark out here, so I'm going to read this really quick from the Blue Book. Okay, it says, when we retire at night, we constructively review our day. Were we resentful, selfish, dishonest, or afraid? Do we owe an apology? Have we kept something to ourselves which should be discussed with another person at once? Were we kind and loving towards all? What could we have done better? Were we thinking of ourselves most of the time, or were we thinking of what we could do for others, of what we could pack into the stream of life? But we must be careful not to drift into worry, remorse, or morbid reflection, for that would diminish our usefulness to others. After making our review, we ask God's forgiveness and inquire what corrective measures should be taken. And then this is for when you wake up. On awakening, let us think about the 24 hours ahead. We consider our plans for the day before we begin. We ask God to direct our thinking, especially asking that it be divorced from self-pity, dishonest, or self-seeking motives. Under these conditions, we can employ our mental facilities with assurance, for after all, God gave us brains to use. Our thought life will be placed on a much higher plane when our thinking is cleared of wrong motives. In thinking about our day, we may face indecisions. We may not be able to determine which course to take. Here we ask God for inspiration, an intuitive thought, or a decision. We relax and take it easy. We don't struggle. We are often surprised how the right answers come after we have tried this for a while. What used to be the hunch or the occasional inspiration gradually becomes a working part of the mind. Boom! All right, I hope you guys have a great night tonight. It is getting dark out here. I can't wait to come back for part 4, and I will see you on the next video. Peace out. Look at how beautiful the sunset is here.